Okay, there are going to be three main topics today for your Chapter 8 Course 3 prior knowledge. The first one is talking about points that are symmetric to one another. So on the first one it says points A and B are reflections of each other in the y-axis. That means your line of reflection is the y-axis. So if I go ahead and I draw the y-axis in here, just so that you guys can make sure you clearly see it. Oh, that's not a very good job. Let me try that again. That is your y-axis. And it then says if A is the point 2, -1, so that's 2 to the right, down 1, and you will want to make sure you always label your points for this chapter. And then it says, it wants to know what coordinates would point B be at. Well, if this is a line of reflection, that means basically you could take your piece of paper, fold it at that line, and where would A touch the other side? Well, it's going to be the exact same distance from our line of reflection. So since this one is 2 over, it would be 2 to the right. So our coordinate there then would be -2, -1. The next one gives you the 2 points, and it wants you to find what would be the line of reflection and also what would be the equation of that line. So if I go ahead and I mark those 2 points there, P would be at 4, -2, so 4 to the right, down 2. And Q is at 4, 2. Remember, they have to be the same distance from the line of reflection. Well, this is 2 up from the x-axis, and this is 2 down from the x-axis. So that means the x-axis is our line of reflection. Well, the x-axis, that means you don't go up or down at all, so that means our y is equal to 0. So since it asks for what is the equation of the line R, which is our line of reflection, the equation would be where y equals 0, because nowhere on the x-axis did you go up or down at all. Our next type of problem then asks you to identify directly proportional quantities. So in order to do that, what you are going to do is you're going to write the ratio of y over x. So on this first one, y is 6, x is 3. That reduces to 2. On the second one, y is 8, x is 4. That also reduces to 2. And our last one is 10 over 5, which also reduces to 2. Since all of them reduce to the exact same ratio, that means in this case that x and y are directly proportional. And our last type of problem for today is talking about perpendicular bisectors. So we need to recognize perpendicular bisectors. There are 2 things you need to remember. In order to be perpendicular, that means they have to intersect at 90 degrees. Bisector means that it cuts it into 2 congruent parts. And remember, that's our symbol for congruent. So this wants to know, is line PQ a perpendicular bisector of segment RS? So we're just talking from R to S here. So we're talking about this middle portion right there. So if I look there, this symbol represents that yes, they intersect at 90 degrees. These 2 tick marks are also at the bottom half. So that means that RQ is congruent to QS, so it is split in half, so that means it is bisected. So that means that PQ is the perpendicular bisector of RS, so it is yes. And it says to justify your answer. Well, the first thing we found out is because they are marked as 90-degree angles, because that little square in the corner. And the second thing was that each one has 2 tick marks, and 2 tick marks means they are So they have to be 90 degrees and congruent. So it is yes. There's no guided practice for our prior knowledge, but you do have the assignment of prior knowledge sheets 24 through 26.